Hello fellow nerds! Nerd! Today I want to compare the slow motion abilities of the GH4 in comparison to the GH5 that is filming me right now. And I'm going to do so by making a complete dork out of myself in public. We are specifically talking about the variable frame rate modes in 60 frames per second, 96 frames per second, 100 frames per second, and 180 frames per second. Of course, the 120 and 180 will only work on the GH5, but it's good to know how they compare to each other, whether there's a big quality jump in between them. Very brief, this is a list with the gear and the setup I used for the test. Please be aware of some restrictions for this test. It was a cloudy day and it was changing between very bright sunlight and not so much bright sunlight and darkness, sometimes even within the shot, and it was very hard to really capture the exact same exposure. So I had to fight it with an ND, a variable ND as well, as good as I could, and this does some freaky effects in the picture. So mind, this is a test for the quality in the higher frame rates and not about exposures. That's what you get when you don't have a cameraman. So what is the resume of this all? I'm not gonna go much into this pixel peeping and doing 200% views of the footage. Basically, you should see the footage at what it is and how it is consumed in the end. I think this will give you a much better experience and of how usable it will be in a real life situation. To conclude, of course, the GH5 is worlds ahead of the GH4 in high frame rates. The 69 frames per second GH4 is very mushy. It's barely HD, if you want to call it that way. While the GH5 remains surprisingly sharp, up to 120, and then gets a little worse in 180, but still very usable from my perspective. Obviously, Panasonic uses some method of to speed up the sensor, pixel binning or line skipping. Maybe you realized that I was specifically looking for places to shoot this where we have patterns, like in the house, in the brick walls. And there was very little moire on that, but you could see moire on the zippers of my jacket quite a bit, which obviously is a line skipping effect. But it's not bad whatsoever, and in this price class I think we have not seen anything like it yet, and I'm looking forward to explore this a little more. And because everything looks better with slow motion and speed ramps, let's have a bit of fun with 180 frames per second from the GH5. And by slowing it even further down with Twixtor in After Effects, and that will give us an astonishing 360 frames per second. Let's have fun. So I hope you found this useful, and I'm planning on doing my own channel, not only this, but really to make a channel for filmmakers. If you enjoyed what you saw there, I hope you will subscribe and like. I really appreciate it. And from June on, I will have my first big project that I will use for my channel. I'm going to film the Ferrari GT3 challenge on the Nürburgring. It's a very famous Formula 1 racing track here in Germany. And I'm gonna cover that from planning over the shooting itself to the post-production. I will go in every aspect of it. I hope you will find that useful as well. And if you subscribe, we will keep you up to date when that happens. See you next time.